Hey, folks. Thanks for being with us this morning, a little bit earlier than we're usually up and active here. And I'm pleased to see people from Gainesville, Florida, and Chicago. We're supporting you there in Chicago. New Orleans, somebody formerly from Massachusetts who is here to say hello to her former senator. Columbus, Ohio, Seattle, St. Louis, Missouri, Asheville, North Carolina. Copenhagen, welcome aboard. Somebody from Wisconsin. We're waiting here for Facebook to come on, of course. Colorado. Did I say that right? Los Angeles. Everett, Massachusetts. Here we go. Somebody said two of her favorite people, which is lovely to hear. Clinton, Massachusetts. Scottsville, Virginia. Please let me know when Facebook is on. Vancouver. California, New Orleans. You got a lot of time down there in New Orleans today. Concord, Mass, the Blue Ridge Mountains, Seattle, Maryland, Lincoln, California, and we see Facebook in the house now from Massachusetts. Thank you for being here, and thank you, Senator Elizabeth Warren, for coming today. Senator Warren is a former law professor. Now your time is in Washington. She joined the Senate in 2013 and is the vice chair of the Senate Democratic Caucus, which is really what I want to talk to her about today. But I think she came across a lot of people's radar screens when she was the progenitor and the early leader of the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, which I take a picture of the sign, or used to take a picture of the sign whenever I was in Washington. So thank you for your work there, and thank you for being here with us today.
Thank you for having me. I'm delighted to be with you. I read you every morning, so I feel like we're in conversation every day. You know, when I'm saying things like, oh my God, or great news, I feel like I get a chance to visit with you almost every day.
Well, isn't it funny? A lot of people say that, but of course, I'm only one part of that conversation. So one of my cousins said to me, like we were saying the other day, and I said, we haven't spoken in 5 years. She's like, oh no, we talk every morning.
Yeah.
So listen, I know your time is really short, and I'm really interested in what's happening in Washington with this shutdown. I almost said showdown because it really is a showdown in a way between two different political parties, two visions of government. And I think it says a lot about what this political moment is. Can you talk to us about the shutdown and what's going on in the Senate?
So look, most people know the facts about what's happening here and how it is that the Republicans passed that one big, beautiful bill back in July. And the Democrats said, we are not going to sign off on a budget that takes away health care from tens of millions of Americans. And you're going to need our votes come September 30th. And I think they thought, the Democrats will just fold. And now here we are. We're saying we want to sit down and negotiate over access to health care because we think it's important for millions of people. Here's the part I think is interesting right now about it, Heather. The Republicans in Congress have proven that they will not take any action, and I mean any action, unless Donald Trump tells them to. They don't say, well, here's what we're going to support, here's what we're going to be opposed to. If they think it's something Donald Trump cares at all about, it's whatever Donald Trump wants to do. So we're in this position now of a lot of Republicans who know that it's wrong to take away health care from the people they represent. They know that it's not only going to cause a lot of suffering in their own states, they understand that it's going to do things like close local hospitals, right? Put people out of work, that it's going to have a lot of economic consequences for the people they represent. And some of them are pretty damn itchy about that, uneasy about that, expressing some concern about that very, very quietly. But until Donald Trump gives the word, they are not willing to sit down and negotiate. And yeah, go ahead.
So I have to ask you a question about that, because that's been the big surprise to me this entire administration, is that the Republican senators walked away from the prerogatives of the Senate. The idea that they would give up the power of the Senate, which was traditionally really a major seat of American power, just floors me. Do you have a sense of why that is? And then I have a follow-up question about that.
So I'm with you. It is stunning. And if you think back to the Constitution, as you often do, and the balance that is written into the Constitution, it is written with the unspoken assumption nobody's given up their power. That is, the courts won't give up their power, the president won't give up his power, but Congress won't give up its power. It will insist on power of the purse is the most obvious, but tariffs and so on. And yet, we have a Republican Party serving in Congress today, House and Senate, that just can't bow low enough to Donald Trump. They will scrape the floor for Donald Trump, whatever it is that Donald Trump wants. And that has put this Republican Party not only ceding power, but it has put them at odds with things they have argued for, things they have fought for, things they have built for generations. And none of it matters. It is all about the all-powerful Donald Trump.
Well, so this is where I was hoping to go with this, because I think we are looking at a real crisis, obviously in the country, but also in political parties. And one of the things that you're starting to see among pundits, and I'll point here to Paul Krugman today, Jess Piper, who writes from Missouri. Lots of people are taking a look at the fact that these cuts that Russell vote is making illegally to the U.S. government, but that also you see with the end of the premium tax credits that are so badly going to hit the healthcare of Americans, as you identified, those are overwhelmingly hitting Republican-dominated states. Similarly, the use of $40 billion to bail out Argentina at the same time that Argentina has undercut U.S. soybean producers and now U.S. cattle ranchers. There's a question about whether the people on the ground will turn against the Republican leaders who are supporting Donald Trump. And I know you can't necessarily speak to what's happening in Missouri, but is there any sense among Republican leadership in Washington that going along with what Trump is doing is so profoundly hurting their constituents that they might lose that power?
Well, I think that's the moment we are in. It's like the ball is up in the air and no one's quite sure where it's going to come down at this moment. But $40 billion in support for Argentina, when you could extend the health insurance tax breaks for $26 billion, and Donald Trump says, no, he won't do that. We're watching right now an activist government, both Democrats and Republicans believing government has an important role to play. Only Democrats are saying, on behalf of all the American people, on behalf of building opportunity for everyone, and Donald Trump is saying, no. The point of government is to keep narrowing the aperture and treating it like a laser to focus in to help the richest, to help the toadies, to help the close friends, and to help fewer and fewer Americans. And soybeans in Argentina is part of it. Healthcare is part of it. Costs for American families overall is part of it. And for me, what makes this particularly remarkable is remember how Donald Trump ran. So a year ago right now, Donald Trump was standing up at every rally and saying, on day one, I will lower your costs. And I know he was saying a lot of other things, but man, he drove that home. He said, I get it, that the American people are stressed financially. So on day one, he would lower costs. He gets interviewed. First interview after the election. He says the reason he won is because he promised on day one to lower costs for American families. And now here we are at day, I don't know, it feels like 10 billion, but whatever it is, 280 or wherever we are. And what's happened? The cost of groceries is up. The cost of utilities is up. The cost of housing is up. The cost of backpacks and school shoes is up. And these are Trump's tariffs that are doing a huge part of this. But in addition to that, now it's right there for everybody to see that Donald Trump is driving up the cost of healthcare astronomically for millions of families. So it's this moment of he told one story and is completely inverted. And the consequences, I feel this shift that Democrats are standing up and saying, no, we are willing to fight back. We're going to do it on healthcare, but understand, we believe that the fight worth having is the fight so that all families across this country have some opportunity. We want to make those investments in childcare. We want to make those investments in more affordable healthcare for everyone. We want to make those investments so that everybody gets a chance in this country to be able to start a small business or to be able to get a job, to be able to build something themselves. I think we're seeing this sharpening difference between the parties, and it's literally coming into focus in front of our eyes right now.
Well, and there is an important next step there too, which is the articulation of the fact that this is not just childcare is good for you, but rather what we are doing is we are guaranteeing a level playing field for all Americans to work hard and to achieve the prosperity that they deserve if they are working hard. And that's a piece that's really interesting in a moment when you have an administration and a party in which people are rising to positions of extraordinary power without putting in any work to get there.
Yeah.
They simply look the part. And that to me is a really interesting moment.
But that's the point now, back to this fight we're in right now over healthcare. What a lot of folks are starting to look at is we're talking about the fact that healthcare premiums are going to go up by, $900, $1,100, $1,500 for a whole lot of people. There are people who are sympathetic to that, but some people who say, it's not going to hit me. But here's the deal. People are starting to realize, yeah, but when those people drop their health insurance because they can't afford it, that's more uncompensated care for these rural hospitals. And these hospitals are going to close. It's more care that, I was on a call yesterday with hospital administrators. How long can they hang on when the Trump administration just keeps pounding them and taking away? That's what they want to do here. Taking away support for our hospitals. And then everybody's hurt because you have chest pains. The hospital is not just closed for people who lost their health insurance under the exchange program. It's closed for everybody. You're trying to deliver a baby. That hospital is closed for everyone. So I think the healthcare debate, as much as anything that could happen in this country, reminds us that building a level playing field, creating more opportunities for people, actually strengthens you to protect what you've got and truly creates more security for everyone in the system.
Amen. And one of the things to which you alluded, but I think is worth highlighting, is that the Republican Party really since Reagan insisted it was for smaller government. And in fact, what we're seeing is, I'd love to hear you talk just a little bit about that. We're seeing the biggest and strongest and most intrusive government we have ever seen in the United States of America.
So we now have an administration that thinks that we ought to have a government that sends troops into American cities. What? We have a government that ought to be able to disappear people off the street, and then we should trust them that they got the right people and that those really were government agencies that were masked head to foot that actually did this. And you're watching it everywhere. You're watching this very powerful, very intrusive government that Donald Trump wants, but he wants all of that energy, all of that power to go to one person. He wants it to go to him, and then he will use it to make himself richer. Shall we talk about crypto and the staggering corruption around that? It will make himself richer by handing out favors to those who are his friends. And by the way, I should say, it's not just even handing it out to friends. It's handing it out to people who go buy his crypto coin, right? And find a way to enrich him. Handing out favors to those that settle lawsuits with him. So it's this powerful government, not used to make the lives better of ordinary folks who are struggling with health insurance or soybean farmers, but to make Donald Trump richer than rich.
So I know you have a tight schedule today, and I'd love to talk more in the future. But I want to end today with where I always like to end things for the people who care so deeply about democracy in this country. What can we do to help? What should ordinary people do to bring awareness to this changing political scene, to push back against the Trump administration? What would you give us as marching orders?
Oh, I love this. The answer is keep raising your voices. Whether you're doing it online, if you're old school and want to call Senate offices and House offices, however you want, speak out when you're at the grocery store. And the reason I say this is so important is it's like the No Kings rally. You know, it's the reminder to every Republican who sits silent in the House or the Senate, and the reminder to the President of the United States. Power does not lie with the White House. Power does not lie with Congress. It lies ultimately with the people. And the people want their representatives to speak out, not on behalf of a billionaire president who wants to be king, but to speak out on their behalf. And I'll add one little element if I can. And that is for all of you who live in blue states, and some of you do, get a friend in a red state or a purple state to call, because the Republican senators, the Republican House members, and even the White House itself, they need to hear from folks all across this country. So I know it gets frustrating. You say, but I called yesterday and nothing has changed today. It is changing. And the way it's changing is because of that rumble of power that you can feel across this country. So this is our moment in history, Heather, when we're all called on. Raise your voice.
Amen to that. Thank you so much for being here, Senator Warren. I hope we can talk again soon. And
Thank
good
you.
luck there. Say a little prayer for me when you go by the East Wing.
Will do. Will do.
Thanks a lot.
Bye-bye.